The fly I'm going to tie today is it's called a Hatchmatcher. This has a pretty interesting history. And I live in the Sun Valley area in Idaho. And Dick Alfs, a legendary fly tyer, fly shop owner in the Sun Valley area, used to tie lots and lots and lots of these flies for his shop, and they were used on Silver Creek to match basically every hatch. Every mayfly hatch. People would use marking pins to just color them the color of the basic hatch. And I don't know that Dick was the originator. I do know that Harry Darbee back in New York did come up with a fly that he called the two-feather fly. And I really don't know the eras of these. All I know is that Dick moved to the valley with the when he worked for the Sun Valley Company in the early days of Union Pacific. Then he opened a fly shop, and he tied these flies for years and years. My late wife also tied a lot of these flies for some of the old timers on Silver Creek when Dick passed away, and she tied hundreds of dozens of them. It's a very simple fly. It's still extremely effective, and I'd like to show you how to tie one. So, like I said, it's called a Hatchmatcher. I have heard them also called Hatchmasters, but they're all basically the same fly. Okay, the principal material in them is, and this is why Harry Darbee referred to it as a two-feather fly, is a drake mallard duck breast feather. And this is an example of one. You can see it still has all of the down and everything still on it. I just wanted to show you how you process one. So to tie the fly, I usually do, if I'm doing some, I'll maybe do a dozen of them, and I'll do all of these up ahead of time. So you take all of this down off of it. You just pull it off of the feather stem. And I'm just going to take a little bit more off of it so you can see where I have roughly that much. And this is going to be a size 18 fly. Now, what you do is you pull the fibers down, and you pull the fibers down, and you want them even on both sides. Okay, so now what we have is this with this tip sticking up. Okay, I'll try to do it on the camera, but I don't know if I will be able to do it as effectively as I would like. What you need to do is pull off two of the fibers on each side. When I say pull off, I mean separate out. So I'm going to separate out two on this side. That's actually three. So separate out two fibers on each side, and I'm going to have to do it in closer here so I can see it. In Dick's later years, when his vision was not as good, I ran into him in the grocery store one day, and his thumb was completely black, and I asked him what he had done to his thumb, and he said, "Oh, nothing. I just took a marking pin to it so I could see, when I was tying the Hatchmatchers, so I could see the feather against my thumb," which I thought was pretty good. So anyway, now what I did here was I separated out two. And so this, as you can see, obviously looks like a mayfly tail. When I said two fibers on each side, now Dick only did one, and he trimmed this out. He would do one fiber on each side, and he would trim this out. My wife, Michelle, like I said, tied a large number of these as well. She felt that they were stronger, and the people that she tied them for actually liked them better too. If you do two on a side, and then you separate the two fibers on the side, and then you trim them down at about, probably a 1/16 of an inch. So there's a little bit of support on the inside for these fibers. So that's what a finished one looks like. So that's, you can see, has that really nice forked mayfly tail look to it, and it has a little bit of support on the inside here. I trimmed that one just a little bit too long, so I'll shorten it up just a little. So there you have it, with one fiber on each side, but two cut off short here to add support to that. Okay, that's prepped for the fly. Now the next thing I'm going to do is, I have a size 18 1330 Daiki. My wife preferred, she even tied them on scud hooks. She liked a short shank hook. She never liked the up eye hook. I do. I think it's a really attractive fly when you tie it with an up eye. Dick, I think, used probably a short shank mustad when he tied them, but this Daiki is a good hook for it, and the Tiemco 500U is basically the same hook, and it makes a really nice looking fly when you do it. So anyway, what you do, you start the thread right behind the eye. While I'm at it, I'm going to pause and say one thing about this bobbin. This is an S&M bobbin. It's a design that has been around for years and years and years. They originally were made with just a metal tube. They got together with Wasatch Tools a few years back, and they made one with a ceramic tube inside, which was a major improvement on it. I know Bob Jacklin was always a big fan of the S&M bobbin, and I agree with him. One of the reasons is because it's considerably heavier than your standard bobbin, and so it'll hold materials in place. Plus it's short. They do make a long stem version, which is very helpful for some things too, but this is a really nice bobbin with some substance to it, and it's short, and I really like the way that it works. Now, you go back just past the point of the hook. You don't want to go all the way back to the end of the shank on this. The abdomen of the fly is going to be these fibers here. And so you don't need to take the thread back all the way to the back of the hook. Okay, what I'm doing is stroking these fibers down that I separated off. I'm stroking them down and forming this, and this will be the abdomen, this portion that you see here, right in front of the tail. So you get them all stroked down. Got to get them gathered here, because you have to switch hands. So you can see you have a beautiful little tail that sticks up there naturally. You come up. My wife will chastise me right now if I get too close to the hook eye. That was one of the things. Almost every fly tyer has a problem with that, at least when they're starting. Leave room behind the eye of the hook. It's extremely important, especially on these smaller flies. Leave yourself plenty of space up there. It's hard to do, but it has to be done. Okay, I trimmed the stem out there, and now what I'm going to do is go ahead and just trim these fibers off at the proper wing length. Okay, so we've got the wings clipped off, and I'm going to dub just a very slight body on this fly. You don't need much at all. I know a lot of you use Superfine on these small dry flies. Great product. I will mention another one here. Very similar product, very fine stuff. It's called Polytech. And it is, I get it from Jack's Tackle in Pennsylvania. And his name is Jack Mikiewicz. I learned about him years ago in the back of one of Gary LaFontaine's books. And Jack was one of the early people that he got, from what I understand, like a train car load full of Antron in the early days when Gary was tying the Antron flies. Jack makes this called Polytech, and he has full hatch charts for it where he incorporates not just the dubbing material but also the color of the thread for the hatches, and he has them for both east and west coast eastern and western United States hatches. Polytech is a great product, dubs beautifully, and he sells it in large quantities, a lifetime supply at a very reasonable price. So again, that's Jack's Tackle in Pennsylvania. I would say to look him up on the internet and give him a call if you're interested. It's a very good product. So I'm just doing a very lightly dubbed body on that. As I said, this is an 18, so now I'm going to tie in the hackle, and that's all there is to this fly. Now, I personally like grizzly hackles. This would actually be a Batis pattern here. I like grizzly hackles because I like the variegation. A lot of people for a Batis will use a dun. That's fine too. But over the years, I like the variegation whenever I'm tying any type of a mayfly, because almost, nothing in nature is one color. Not that a natural dun hackle is. It isn't. It has its variations as well. But I just have found that I really like the variegation in the grizzlies. Again, the scissors from Chris Helm. This is another one of those pairs that he gets from Germany. They're very fine, and they're very, very nice scissors. Okay, now just normal wrapping of the hackle. You go a couple of wraps behind. I'm going to go ahead and do 3 behind, and then I'll do 2 in the front. That's all there is to the fly. You tie off the hackle, you trim any loose ends around the front, and I think this is why Harry Darbee referred to it as the 2-feather fly, although I think he actually used chicken feathers as opposed to a duck quill for doing his. But the technique is the same, the pulling back of the fibers, and it is only 2 feathers. My wife used to tie these down to 22s and even 24s for people. The largest fish I know of caught on one was a football-shaped 8-pound brown trout on Silver Creek that was caught by a friend of ours on a size 22 trico pattern. When she tied the trico pattern, where I used the dubbing there, she used just a short length of, just a tiny piece of peacock herl for that. And these work beautifully in the trico hatch on Silver Creek. As I said, over the years, I don't think a pattern has probably been used more on Silver Creek than the Hatchmatcher. It matches the mayfly hatches beautifully, and it's a surprisingly durable fly. So there you have it, the Hatchmatcher. I did not use Hackle pliers on that, but I am going to say one thing about Hackle pliers. When I was tying the hackle on this fly, the hackle was long enough the stem was long enough to where I did not have to use hackle pliers. But I'd like to just mention a pair of hackle pliers. Whenever I find a tool that is really unique and does an incredibly good job, I like to give the person who's making them credit. And these are a pair of hackle pliers made by Mike Barnum. He's in, I believe it's Medford, Oregon. And Mike is a machinist. And these are terrific hackle pliers. They have these little brass nuts on the side, which makes them very easy to handle. They have great tension. Plus, you can see they're padded on each side. I have used these on CDC. I have used them on partridge. The stems that are normally very tough to deal with, I have not broken one yet with these. They are very tender on things, but they are also very, very strong, and they hold well. It's a quality product. So again, these are Mike Barnum's hackle pliers, and I think if you just look up Barnum's Machine Shop or Mike Barnum on the internet, you will find these.